Hello, hello, everybody. I feel like I have a mess over here. It's one of those nights with the tea and the paint and the journal and everything. Welcome to Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace. So excited that you're here. Ooh, Lois is here. Welcome, Lois, Sandy, and Melissa and Shannon. Thank you so much for being here. How are you all doing? It is Monday, Moon Day, November 7th, our anniversary. The full moon is happening tomorrow, tonight, kind of, depending on how you see it. It will kind of take place before the sun comes up, so we can call it tonight. But it is on Tuesday, right, according to timelines and all of that. And it is our favorite day of the week. We have been doing this together for 17 episodes, and I'm so happy and so proud. Thank you all for coming. As you know, last week was such an adventure. Oh my goodness. If you were here last week, then I'm sorry, but I have to offer a recap to our viewers that join us for the very first time, and those joining us on YouTube as well. Welcome. But I had a fire happen right here on my stage last Monday, literally like 3 minutes before the time of the show, and I put it all up and I patched it all up, and it was right on, I don't know, brand or in tune with Halloween, so it was perfectly fine. And now Taylor Swift is patching it up. Yay! And her lovely autograph. So I'm very grateful for that. Hello, Rowena. Welcome, everybody. So grateful and happy that you're here. It is Monday. And in this show, we like to talk about the magic of intention, the magic of putting all of our efforts together for that final grand result. What are you trying to do with it? Right? And the reality is, you've heard me say this a lot, that we're all creators. You're not just a creator if you create content. And in fact, all of it is content. Everything is content, right? We can call my cup of tea content. And so it's wonderful to be here, and so I'll be lurking. Oh yeah, no worries, Rowena. You're fine. You're good. Please enjoy. Actually, it's Tuesday for you. And so that means that so the lunar eclipse and the full moon is going to peak tomorrow, Tuesday night, for Rowena, all the way in Australia. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. I love it that you're here. And so we like to talk about our week. What are we trying to create? What are the things that we are looking forward to the most? And as you know, this conversation has a preamble, which is our 3 o'clock conversation on the Wisdom app, where we get to kind of navigate a question that is really related to the lunar energy, or where the moon is positioned at the time. And right now, it is in Taurus. It's going to be in Taurus until Wednesday. And so this whole lunar eclipse is happening in Taurus. And what is Taurus all about? Well, let me tell you, because I know I am a Taurus with my sun in Taurus. My North Node is also in Taurus. So that means that I'm pretty much a triple-headed, very rooted, very hard-headed bull. And so Taurus is all about comfort, being centered, grounded. Think about that cow or that bull with 4 legs on the ground, right? And they're slow, and they take their time. And I mean, on a normal day, of course, we're not going to think about a bull running down, the street or whatever, chasing someone. And so Taurus is all about that. It's ruled by Venus, and Venus is all about how you approach your environment, your home, your comfort, with love and with gratitude and all these feelings, right? That's very Venus. And so when the moon is in Taurus, now we're mixing the emotions, because that's what the moon is all about, right? To all of that energy of comfort and home and possessions, right? We talked about that earlier as well, and how it may all sound materialistic, but in reality, there's a way to kind of unify everything into a single energy, kind of like the law of consecration, and how when you consecrate anything for your highest good or for spirit or for God, then you're not necessarily materialistic, and instead you approach everything you own and everything you have with a purpose of gratitude and with a purpose of, just everything works together for a common energy. And that's how I would describe the law of consecration, right? So am I being materialistic when I'm really taking comfort on a weighted blanket, or when I'm really taking comfort on the things in the things that I love, like playing some vinyl or enjoying some music, dancing, right? Or am I just really tapping into that Venus and Taurus energy that allows me to appreciate what I own and what I have? And so all of these things are kind of brewing over, right, during this time with the moon in Taurus and then with the eclipse. And the thing about the eclipse is that, as you know, it's Scorpio season. And we've talked about little old Scorpio as well. It is a fixed water sign and it is very deep. So Scorpio is pretty much the most passionate and deepest of the zodiac or of the water signs. And even though it's a water sign, I always think of Scorpio and automatically think of fire. Why? Because if you're going to think about deep passions, deep fears, deep worries, deep desires, well, that's kind of like, it's intense, right? And the word intense kind of like just goes hand in hand with fire, and maybe just in my head, but Scorpio is a fiery sign, even though it's not a fire sign, right? Kind of spicy. I say that a lot as well. It's a spicy sign. And every Scorpio that I know is also someone who is very passionate, very spicy like that. So more power to you all, and to you if you're listening and you're a Scorpio. And the thing is that when you add that element to the full moon in Taurus, which is during Scorpio season, it's everything you may know about the moon and the moon in Taurus and the eclipse, everything, but magnified at a deeper level. So if you feel a certain discomfort, you may feel it even more tomorrow during this time. If you feel worries or fears, you may feel them amplified because of that Scorpio element that is at play. If you feel love, right, because it's Venus and it's Taurus. So for those of us in relationships, when the moon is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, there may be some romance, right? And so when you feel it, you may feel it even deeper than other times. And all of these things, I just find them so fascinating and so interesting, and I love it so much. And so we're here to talk about all of it. Yay! And to discuss, if you want, what is it that we are also, it is the full moon. And as you know, for the full moon episodes, we like to banish, release, what do you want to call it, let go of, surrender, right? Just express instead of repress. And so we will be discussing some thoughts around what to let go of, or what do we want to no longer be a part of or associated with in order to maximize that energy. The full moon is about release. And as you know, the new moon is where we talk about intentions and planting those intentions so that we can watch them grow. But here's the ticker. Here's the thing. I said that Taurus is all about grounding, right? Taurus is an earth fixed sign. And so what that means is that Taurus energy is the perfect energy for grounding those ideas, bringing those ideas from up above to down below and on the ground into life, materializing them. So what does that mean? That means that even though this full moon, as every full moon, is about release and cleanse and banishing, because it's a full moon in Taurus, it's a perfect energy for, what's the word? dang it, manifestation. I was going to say something else. I was going to say materializing again, and I forgot about manifestation. So yeah, it's a great time for manifestation or for pondering. As you know as well, if you've been watching me for a while, I don't particularly like the word manifestation. I prefer to call it blessings, or to call it projects, or to call it hard work. Like, let's be honest, right? We're all making things happen. So what do you want to make happen? This is the perfect time between tonight and tomorrow to ponder what is it exactly that you are trying to bring to life. And for a lot of us, there's writing involved, there's episodes, there's shows, there's interviews, there's job opportunities, there is just more moments of mindfulness. You might be trying to manifest or to create more opportunities to center and to ground yourself because you're extremely overwhelmed with your line of work. You might be trying to manifest more opportunities to connect with your spouse because you haven't in a while and you're overdue for a date night. You might be trying to create more moments between just you and spirit, more opportunities to meditate, more opportunities to elevate, which I understand is the opposite of grounding. But if you are very grounded and rooted in your surroundings because you're just so involved, then you might need that extra time to kind of just elevate and detach from everything that's going on around you. So at the end of the day, it's all about reaching that balance that you've heard me talk about so many times, which we tend to emphasize when the moon is in Libra, because Libra is, the scale. So it's all about balance. But in reality, balance it's the elusive balance, first of all, right? Because let's be honest, if I am here with you, entertaining you, teaching you, coaching you, then I am not over there being a mother, a wife, so on and so forth. So where is that balance? So there's lots of ways to look at it, obviously. And there's opposition in all things. But this whole balance is about trying to really put the same amount of effort on everything that we do so that our energy is spent kind of equally. And at the same time, it's not just our energy being spent, but it's also the energy that we receive from things around us, from people around us, especially if you're watching and you identify as empath, right? Then you know that your surroundings are going to affect you. Anything from the color of the paint that you pick, or the things that are aesthetically pleasing or not in your home or in someone else's house. How many plants do you have? Are you taking care of your plants, or are you just watching them die? I have sadly killed a plant in our kitchen, and I just can't believe it, because the one inside the room that is the same plant is thriving. So maybe that one in the kitchen just doesn't, I don't know, there's just something going on over there. So I need to figure that out. But we are just spending our energy and receiving energy constantly. So how are you maneuvering all of it? All of that. And then, because of the moon in Taurus and the context of it all, the question that I proposed earlier, which was a great conversation, and I'll tell you all about it now, was how do you maneuver the energy of discomfort? And if you're in the room right now, Lois, Melissa, or you were the only ones there. So Lois or Melissa, if you would like to come up and share with the audience what you shared with us earlier, I would love that. If not, I'm going to go ahead and, resume it all. But as you know, we start this conversation at 3 p.m. And so some of the things shared about how do you maneuver or, handle the energy of discomfort, it's really about making us think. The reason why I posed that question is because I want to make people think, and myself, about the opposite of comfort, because that's where the energy is at. And essentially the whole thing about the full moon or the new moon or the solar eclipse that I've noticed in my experience, and I've been doing moon rituals for about 7 years, so I tend to now look for these things, right, and for these signs, and I tend to observe the people around me and how they behave, right? The thing that I've noticed is that to me, it's a good sign to go through these celestial events and not feel discomfort or not feel rattled or confused. To me, that's a sign of spiritual alignment, right? To me, that's a sign of someone who, however it looks like for them, is taking the time to find that balance and to do the inner work, right? And when that Scorpio goes deep, there's no rattling because you go deep on your own and you figure things out, right? And so, in an effort to have my audience and have all of you and myself included go deep as a matter of conversation, I propose that question of how do you maneuver the energy of discomfort? What exactly do you do, right? That's what the word how implies, specifically. And so some of the things that were mentioned were stepping back to question, to get curious. So curiosity is great. Unfortunately, we're not necessarily taught or encouraged to be curious when we're growing up, right? In fact, we've talked about this too. We are kind of taught to stop asking questions because you're being annoying. Hi, Melissa. Welcome. Would you like to be
Hello.
on camera?
I really can't right now because I'm doing a bunch of stuff, but I wanted to
You're
jump
good.
in and say hi
Hi.
and respond to your talk earlier on wisdom, which was a great one, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. And what you shared was great. So tell us, please.
Well, two things. One, the meditating. I enjoy meditating, uh, moon gazing, sun gazing, that kind of thing. So, and that helps to relax your mind and body. So, when things happen, you're able to respond rather than react. And I find by taking that breath and stepping back, you can handle things better, and the stress doesn't get you. That you're not affected in the same way.
Right, exactly. If you find the way to be still and to center, see, that's the trick about mindfulness is that we don't do it for today. We tend to do it for later on when drama comes a knocking. I like to
Yes,
say that as a reminder, right? So when you do this as a practice, then you are prepared to handle adversity when it just shows up.
I like to say that one of my favorite dishes is humble pie because when you're not just humble to others, but when you're humbling to yourself, then you are. It's easier to pause and it's easier to think something through. And you're able to pull that strength you need to walk away if that's what it takes, or
Hmm.
charge forward, whatever it takes for you for your path in that moment. So, but yeah, huge on meditation, sun gazing, moon gazing, all that fun stuff. So,
I love that. Thank you. Yes. And you talked about the wind. Oh my gosh. I apologize. There's a bug. We're just going to call it a fairy, but it keeps bugging me. Life in the country, y'all. And this is live, obviously. So you talked about the wind and you talked about the sand. Would you like to tell us about that?
oh yes, yes. The sand, and if you and you actually combine something. I said I like to sit in the sand and draw circles in the sand, or as you suggested, I mentioned as well, also writing something you want to release, like stress or anger. And the wind, where I'm at, especially today, you could have blown it away within moments. So it's sort of a release, and it just helps you to ground, just putting your hands and your toes in the dirt or the sand. I'm one of those people. I literally we're driving down the road and we see those sand dunes where they're doing construction. I'm like, ooh, can we stop and play? Because I'm like a child. I get in close with my inner child when I see sand and when I'm able to play in dirt or sand. So
Mm,
it's grounding. Bare feet, bare
right.
hands, dig in. So
Hmm. Exactly. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you. And everyone, follow Melissa. She has a show along with Sandy every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Wednesday. Is it at the same time on Wednesday?
It is. It's on 9 p.m. on Wednesday as well. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm going to jump down and continue to listen and
Of
continue
course. Thank you so
doing.
much.
Thank you for having me up again today.
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much for being here. So, Lois, good evening. Let's go ahead and give a hand to Melissa. Thank you so much for coming up, Melissa. Hi, Lois.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you kind of far.
Okay, okay, okay. Is this better?
Oh, yes, it is. Would you like to be on
Okay.
camera?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in my jammies, girl. Okay,
Oh,
I'll be
no
kicking it all
problem.
day.
Yes, you stay in your jammies and just take in all that comfort.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to come in here and check this out because I heard you talking today, and I'm like, I need to know more about the astrology part of the moon waxing and waning and all that kind of stuff. So I figured let me drop in. But what was the question so I can make sure I address it correctly again? What was the question we
Oh, I
passed
was
over?
just summarizing our conversation earlier, which you answered so beautifully about how do you manage or maneuver the energy of discomfort.
Okay, that's what it was. Because I was like, I forgot what question it was, but
And
because
you
but I
did
did.
so good earlier.
Well, that's easy, girl, because I do it all. Have to do it all the time. It's a practice. Because I like to stay conscious of what I'm doing and how I'm doing, and so the way I transmute that, and that's what I call what I'm doing is transmuting it. I realize what is it? Is it a physical problem? Is it a mental thing, or is it something energetic? And I say animal, vegetable, mineral. Okay, and when I'm in that situation where I'm feeling stressed out or whatever have you, I have to ask myself questions in order to get myself back on track. If I'm in a verbal altercation with somebody, which that rarely happens, but somebody is coming at me, that happens sometime. I have to ask myself, what do I feel that they're doing? Okay, to
Mm.
me in that moment. And then if I can't think of it, of course I ho'oponopono, that which is a prayer that I've been teaching since I've been on this app, just says, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you, thank you. And generally I get clarity and I'll say, oh, they're judging me. And then I have to ask myself, if I've been judging myself in the mirror anywhere, or am I doing this to myself? Am I disrespecting myself if that's what I feel? And then I'm able to forgive that and push forward. Now, if something has happened with me physically, I have to physically move my body. Okay. And I like to do things like, when you talk about grounding, I like to do things like hug a tree, literally hug a tree. Because you say, oh, those tree huggers, they just love the trees. No, I mean, I'm literally hugging a tree so that I can just tap into the energy of that tree, that 7.83 megahertz that just vibrates and that's just so whole and so perfect for this atmosphere. I hold on to the tree. And then I like to go hike to a top of a mountain so I can look at the tops of the trees so I can put things in perspective. And that's the same thing I do. I'll go by a large body of water, whether it's an ocean, whether it's a lake. This last week I went to a river and a lake because I've just felt like it. The other things as far as changing it is I also pay attention to my response time. How fast did I go snap back into balance? Because we don't go out of balance in an area and then we can't get back on. It's how fast we return once we fall down. So I try to make sure that each rebound is faster, like I'm playing basketball or something, and I got to get that rebound, you know. So those are different things that I use. And my favorite thing was dancing, because when I'm dancing, I elevate away from my body, and my body is totally not in pain. It doesn't feel any of the stress, anything. It just, I get elevated somewhere else, and hours have passed while I'm on the dance floor dancing by myself. And then people ask me questions about the dances I do, and I'm like, I don't know. I was just dancing. Okay, hold on, Tokyo. And the last part, which I found that really helps me, is the energy tapping, where you tap
Mm-hmm.
on different meridians and different chakras of your body, or different areas where it moves, that actually physically moves that energy. Okay, and recently I've been doing a practice with that I've put together for me, is called, I call it macabre charging, where I move the energy in my sphere that we're all in, that we came here in, and I charge that up. And right now I'm really lit up, so this dog is all over me, and I'm having a hard time trying to focus on what I'm saying.
Oh, you did so good.
Oh
No, thank you
Jesus!
so much.
Oh,
Is his name
but yeah,
Tokyo?
yeah. Her name is Tokyo.
Oh, I love that. That's so
But
cute.
Jesus. But yeah, those are things that I do, because I find that, when you connect to the earth, or when you connect to your innate part of you, you're able
Right.
to transcend whatever it is that you're going through. Because the thing is, whatever you're going through, you're supposed to be learning something from, and it's just a trigger showing you where you need to heal something. And so
Right.
our job is not to say why me, is our job is to say, okay, what am I healing now? Here I heal again. Not here I go again, but here I grow again. And to look at it
Mm-hmm.
that way, because we're always progressing and growing, and we're supposed to be coming into who we truly are as this essence. And we're pure love, light, energy. And anytime we don't operate in that, we have repercussions, because we missed the target.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have to say. But thank you for
Oh,
having me on your stage.
I love it so
I've
much.
never
Thank you
been here
so
before,
much.
so this has been. So I'm like, I don't even know what. No, I don't know about this app. I've been here,
Well,
but I've
you're
never
welcome
been there.
anytime.
Oh well, thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm enjoying being educated. Okay, I'm enjoying being
Mm.
educated. So thank you, Graciela, for having me.
Of course. Thank you, Lois. I love that you're here. Thank you so much. Now there's a button somewhere where you can step down, or you can stay on the stage. You're perfectly fine there. You found it. Great. So everybody, so beautiful. Yes, all of those meditation. I remember Melissa and I talked earlier about how I love to pull weeds. But let me tell you how I do it. Because most of our plants, so here in Florida, Florida is kind of essentially a giant swamp. No offense to people born here, but it is. And with that said, every structure is really built on sand. And it's all very like packed together with dirt and river rocks and just a ton. Every single home has settlement cracks because, of course, the ground settles after you add the weight of the property. Like, there's just so much. And we are surrounded by water almost everywhere. Like, I have water in that direction and I have water in that direction. And right across the street from us, there's the canal right behind my neighbor's doors, my neighbor's house. So I have water all around. And all of that to say that most of our plants, like the good plants, like my roses or our lilies, they're all in pots with like real, nice soil under them. And what I was going to say is, when I pull weeds, I tend to dig my hands and trace the root of those weeds, which, as you know, weeds, the roots just go deep and they expand and they just take over, right? That's what weeds do. And so before I pull a weed out, which sometimes you can pull it out and leave the roots in there, right? I like to trace the root with the tips of my fingers and just envision or imagine what it looks like. Of course, I never get it right. Like, I'm not necessarily drawing it as I'm visualizing it. It's not like that. It's just I it's like seeing with my hands. I don't know how else to explain it, but I feel it and I am in that moment with my hands in the dirt. And how is that not grounding, right? Like I'm not worried, I'm not stressed, I'm not thinking about things, I'm not thinking about other people. I'm obviously looking over my shoulder. Most of the times that I do this, my toddler is running all over the yard, chasing butterflies, and I'm worried about bees because they're all over the place as well. So all of that to say, getting your hands dirty in the ground, like Melissa was saying, not just walking on grass, but are you doing it barefoot, obviously? And are you going a little step further and digging your toes in the dirt, digging your toes in the sand, right? To actually acknowledge what that feels like. And of course, that's a sensory thing. So if you have an aversion to certain textures, you may not like what we are talking about, but that's why, being centered, grounded, and meditating looks different for everyone. So if dirt and sand are not up your alley, then just pick your tea, pick your color, and do what makes you happy. You may like coloring, talking about colors. Coloring is a huge centering practice, right? It's you've heard me say this before. The point is to get you out of your head and into your body. And this is why we like to journal and paint in this show. Hello, Chris, and welcome, Ron. And I also see that Taryn is here. So welcome, everybody. Got made dirt. And dirt don't hurt. That's right, Chris. Dirt don't hurt at all, but I do know that it's a texture thing. I mean, when I used to spend money and get my nails done, there's no way I would dig my toes in the dirt, the day that I got my manicure. Like, that would make me like pretty mad if I had to do that, right? And so now I don't spend my money on that anymore. Yay, growing up and worrying about what truly matters. Yeah, like now, getting my nails done, thank you, Ron. Getting my nails done is like my own mindfulness practice, right? Like now I make the time and put up the music and make a whole thing, and I do my nails, and then I'm happy about it, right? And then they chip like a day later, and it is what it is. But yeah, so being centered and grounded looks different for everyone. I have another one, because things look different for everyone. If you are self-conscious about hugging a tree, right? Like that's, like if my teenage stepkids saw me hugging the tree that I hug all the time because it's right outside our door. It's an evergreen, huge pine tree that I love it so much because it's pretty much the only tree in our property. And so when my kids see me like just around it, they're already looking at me like I'm a weirdo. So if they saw me hugging it, they would probably feel really uncomfortable. And so this is for you. If you feel like you are self-conscious about hugging a tree, just sit under it. Honestly, that's close enough, right? There's an intention there that matters. If you are sitting under a tree with the intention of being grounded, think about the roots under that tree, how deep into the ground they go, right? And now you are adding weight to all of that and just taking in the air and breathing the air and taking in the shadow of how it's covering you and sheltering you from the sun or from the moonlight. Like, it doesn't matter. If you feel weirded out by hugging a tree, then just sit under it and put your hand over and be like, tap, 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 the way that we kind of like tap on each other's back and it's super awkward. I hate it. I hate that. But anyway, so there's just ways to go around it if you think that things might be a little too weird. Yes, Chris, I absolutely love laying on my back and doing breath work outside. While laying back in the sun. I'm such an island girl that I just want to be in the sun all day, every day, like tanning, right? No sunblock. That's just from Puerto Rico. That's how we do. That's how we do over there. And so I totally agree. And looking at clouds, but I also love it when there's absolutely no cloud up in the sky, and I feel like the sky just looks like a postcard, like deep, like beautiful blue. So I agree. And then Taryn shared with us one of my favorite grounding practices as well, which is dancing. And Taryn, you're welcome to come up and tell us, but if not, I'll summarize it. Because what happened last night, Sunday evenings, I like to play vinyl after I set my son up to sleep. And I say it like that, like it's Sunday evening, because during the week, we have the book club, we have this show. I have several events going on at night during the week. And then once we are done with this, I'm pretty much just ready to get ready for bed and go read my own reading, right? And so I don't necessarily play vinyl during the week. So I make it a practice to kind of close out the weekend with, let's pick a nice little vinyl that I'm in the mood to listen to. Or I do it randomly, right? I'm like kind of like picking a tarot card out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, which one is it? Okay, this one. Let's play it and see what happens, right? What message do you have for me today? And so I was playing vinyl last night, as I do every Sunday. And before I noticed, which means that I didn't set an intention to do that to begin with, before I noticed, I was dancing and my body was just moving to the music, which is what Taryn was sharing as a centering practice. And Lois was sharing as well how when she dances, she no longer feels pain. And I particularly love how I just feel my spine aligning, and sometimes my, what do we call this? My cervical neck, well, my neck, right? This, like, it just cracks or pops back into place. It's so weird, and it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't feel like when the chiropractor does it, which is like a hard, crack, but it just feels good, and that's the point, right? And the thing about moving, which Taryn was so eloquently explaining to us earlier, is how the energy just moves through your body and you release it, right? If there's negative energy, it just flows right through you. This reminds me of Tai Chi, I think it is, right? Where you're moving and taking in the energy and doing very specific movements. If you are a subscriber of mine, then you have received a meditation. Thank you. If you're a subscriber or a client of mine, you might have received a meditation where we release negative energy. And how we do that is, we gather it all up and then we release away from us along with breath work, and we gather it all up again, we release away from us. So we do a lot of things, right? And this whole thing about moving and speaking with our hands and and all of that, it's an energy flow, undoubtedly. So there's lots of ways to look at dancing and body movement. And if you're a runner, how are you incorporating meditation while you are running or jogging or walking? Some of us prefer to walk and just listen to birds and whatnot. So there's just so many ways. It's like a buffet of centering options. Take your pick and do what feels right and what resonates. And what doesn't resonate, just leave it. That's it, right? I'm not the centering police. You can just do it, however you like. Journaling is another centering practice. If you practice art, then you're getting centered. So set the intention to really focus on that and not be in your head, and then you're on the right track. Woo, that was a lot. Also, Ron shared something with us too. Ron, if you want to come and share what you do to maneuver or handle the energy of discomfort, you're welcome to share it again. But if not, let's get on to oh, Ron is coming up. Woody woot. Ron, would you like to be on camera?
No, ma'am.
Fine. Go ahead.
I promise next time I will be in makeup and costume and everything.
Fine, sir.
Yes. So what I do is, yes, I like that laughter. I like that. But what I do is mostly if I'm feeling discomfort, that means my thoughts are distorted. So I'm actively in the process when I'm in that moment of reframing my thoughts, studying my thoughts, saying, is this rational? Is this catastrophizing? What is this? And I change it. So that's what I've done. And but there was a time when it was a lot more difficult because I didn't know that at the time, didn't have that strategy. So those times were more difficult, and I would allow the thoughts to overcome what was really happening and get upset or leave a party or whatever it was. And so that's what I do. It's mostly in the mind. That's what I find.
And so now that you're aware, clever word there, of how your thoughts are distorted, and you do this aware and active reframing, how has that impacted your life?
Oh, tremendously well. It's enhanced my life because now I'm not imprisoned to these thoughts, and which can lead easily to anxiety and depression. And so it's definitely helped my self esteem and my overall mood because, like I said, it would be easily become depressed because of those thoughts.
Mm. Oh, I love
Mm.
that. Look at you growing up and doing awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Takes
Yes,
time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. We're about to
Thank
paint
you.
and to do the journaling. So you're welcome to stick around. We're going to do the meditation as well. Thank you,
Awesome.
Ron.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, I love you, everybody. I love all of you. So let me give you the moon cast, which, LOL, last Monday when I had that fire happen right before the show, I forgot all about what I was going to say. As you know, this show is not scripted. But this time I came prepared. So let me just tell you, right now the moon is in Taurus. We already spoke about that. You already know what that's about. Comfort, take pride in what you own. You're not being materialistic or prideful. It's just the energy. So go ahead and enjoy what you have and how hard you work for what you have, right? Absolutely. Give yourself a pat in the back. And then, yes, and then it moves into Gemini. Ooh, here's the thing about Gemini. Watch your tongue. When the moon is in Gemini, you might speak a little more than you should. And you might say things that you don't mean. And you might be a little snappier than usual, or you might just overshare, right? Volunteer information that you shouldn't be volunteering, possibly to the wrong person. And here's the thing, when you are volunteering information that you shouldn't be volunteering, it's like you're on this level of awareness and you're doing all this hard work, but this other person that you're sharing with, do you even know where they are in their spiritual journey? Do you even know where they're at in their healing journey? And so you just need to be aware of what you share and who you share it with. And I feel like that applies 100% of the time, not just to the moon in Gemini, especially if Mercury is in retrograde. We've talked about this before. We know Mercury rules communication. So when it's in retrograde, there's miscommunication going, wreaking havoc all over the place. So what does that imply? That implies gossip, lies, all of these games that we don't really appreciate. None of us, right? And so moon is in Gemini. After that, that's going to be Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, moon is in Cancer. And we've talked about Cancer as well. Empaths with the moon in Cancer. Cancer is that hard shell exterior crab. But inside, all crabs are mushy. So when it comes to the moon, which is all about emotions, right? The sun is logic and ego and intellect, whereas the moon is all, the sea of emotions within. When the moon is in Cancer, then all of those emotions and internal struggles are amplified. So somebody who is in the path to healing and soul alignment may not feel as depressed, literally, that's the word to use, as someone who is still struggling and not in a healing or in a spiritual path. So be mindful of that. If you feel like come Saturday and Sunday you just want to stay home, the crab is very homey as well, right? Then know that it may be the energy of the moon that is, that you're feeling. If you feel like tearing up when you see puppies, or tearing up when you think about your children, or just reminiscing on memories of lost loved ones, or, crying because of the future. Like I tend to tear up when I imagine my toddler, getting married and leaving someday. What? And he's only 3. LOL. So that's the kind of stuff that happens when the moon is in Cancer. And that's your moon cast for the rest of the week. Woohoo! I remembered all of it. I'm so proud. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And so that leaves us, and welcome Malem. Happy Tuesday to you. Malem tends to have a lot of technical issues, so I'm glad that you're here. And I was going to say, I hope that you didn't have a lot of issues, but this bug is driving me crazy. There is a bug around here, and you've seen me like go like that several times, and now he's all over my phone. So I'm kind of distracted. But anyway, now we are on the part that pertains to the full moon, which we talked about earlier. So if you just joined us, or if you're watching on the replay, then you already know that the full moon is all about banishing, releasing, letting go, expressing. And at the same time, the full moon in Taurus is all about manifestation and grounding those dreams. How can you bring your dreams from like up here, up above, to down below on the ground, materialized, and bring them to life? So if you want to come up and share what you're willing to let go of, or what you want to release or express instead of repress, you're welcome to request the microphone. If not, I'm going to ponder some things that we can all let go of, right? Things that we really don't need to keep around, like the fear or the core wounding, let's call it that, because we're reading Panache Desai's in the book club, and he calls it core wounding. Yes, I knew you would like that. I want to let go of the core wounding that somehow tells me that I don't deserve money. Money is the ultimate manifestation, right? Because we talk a lot about value, and we talk a lot about the worth of things, and my self-worth, and how much is worth, how much something is worth, if I'm going to pay for it or not, and do I or do I not, right? And so when we talk a lot, at the end of the day, it really comes down to money, right? That exchange, a lot of things don't really become true until there's that material exchange, right? So when it comes to the energy of the moon in Taurus, money is a big aspect of that, absolutely. And if you're struggling with self-worth, or if you're struggling with confidence, or even self-reliance, you might be struggling with some of those feelings of, how much is my time value? What's the value of my time? Or how much am I going to charge for my services, for those like me who are service oriented, or service providers, if you will? How much is my piece of art worth? Like, what could I sell that for? I'm not selling it. As you know, what I journaled is under there, right? I'm not selling that. But if you paint, if you create something, are you struggling with the price of that, and with, not demanding, but asking for what you're worth? And I see this a lot, right? Where people just provide value after value after value, and then they don't put a price on their, content that really reflects the value that they're offering. And that happens a lot. And there's a strategy behind it. But at the same time, if there's no strategy, then are you doing it because there's that lack of self-worth? So anyway, now I'm rambling. But, I want to let go. I'm writing this down in the journal as we speak. I want to release any thoughts that tell me, or that I should say, that get in the way of my prosperity. That's a good word. Prosperity is kind of the word that really goes to Jupiter. So we're going to talk about that next time, when the moon is in Jupiter, or when Jupiter is in retrograde. I want to release any thoughts that get in the way of my prosperity. I want to release any core wounding that makes me feel, ooh, this is a big one, like I don't belong. How about that one? This one happens a lot, especially for empaths, right? Because we tend to feel a little bit displaced with the fact that we don't know where some energies are coming from. Did I come here with the drama, or is this drama just happening around me and now I feel it? We just don't know until we do the work, and then we know. But back in the day, I used to be completely overwhelmed as a highly sensitive person, in my surroundings and with the people around me. I didn't know I was an introvert. I didn't know what my sensitivities were. I didn't know what my gifts of the spirit were, and so on and so forth. And when you don't know, then you cannot control, right? As you know, awareness is control, and that's where the magic is, right? Chopra says that awareness is magic. And so I want to release any core wounding, which implies that this comes from way before, from past trauma, from childhood, from high school, whatever. That's what core wounding kind of implies. And I want to release any core wounding that makes me feel like I don't belong. Why? Because now, as an adult who has done the work, who continually does the work, who keeps researching to figure all these things out, any core wounding that comes out, like Lois was saying earlier, the fear and the trigger is there to tell you something, right? It's not there just to mess around with you and ruin your day. It's there to point out to something that needs to be worked on, or something that needs to be figured out. So how about we just get rid of the core wounding altogether? Right? And maybe because I'm doing this on a moon day with the energy of the full moon and in this kind of ritualistic experience, maybe I forget all about it and it never bothers me again. Wouldn't that be miraculous? That would be the ultimate miracle. Absolutely. And so these are some of the things that we do. That's kind of the intention of full moon, new moon, manifestation, rituals, if you want to call it that. And after we journal, we paint. So I'm going to go ahead and take these two things and cover them in black. I have my paint over here all ready to go. And what a beautiful conversation. Thank you all for being here. Oh, and I wanted to show you. So as you know, we've been painting on sketch paper, and it's been really big. But I also wanted to show you what it looks like if you do it in your journal. So I brought my personal journal. And I wanted to show you how this past month, all of the moons, how I've been doing it. So there's something journaled under all of these. So this was last week's, right after our moon show, right after the fire. I did my my new moon. It was the last energy of the new moon was the 31st, and so that's when I did it. And it's all about what I'm trying to grow, manifest, intentions, all of that. And so I painted over it, and now we're going to do it for tonight. So if you do it on your journal, it's going to look the same. You just have to wait for it to dry before you close the page. So it's not that difficult. And anybody can do this, especially if you're going to do it like me with just some black paint. Some other promptings that you can think about if you're going to journal tonight could be what is something that is currently filling me with joy? And that really taps into the energy of the moon in Taurus, right? Because we're talking about comfort. And at the same time, you want to offer a journaling prompt of the opposite of that question, which is, what is currently robbing me of my joy? Why don't you take a moment to ponder that and write it down? And the reason why you want to write it down is because you want to bring awareness to those things so that you can do something about them, right? That's the whole point of awareness. If you're not aware, then things are just there, running amok and running your life. Do you want other things to run your life, or do you want to run your own life, right? You don't want to be the puppet of your triggers, or the puppet of your doubts, or the puppet of your insecurities. You want to be the one in control. So absolutely, just write things down. And so I'm going to go ahead and paint in a little bit, but we're almost done, and we're going to do a meditation. So everybody, if you're ready for that, we're going to go ahead and meditate. So like we talked earlier, Melissa inspired us, and we've done this many, many times, but I want to give her credit because she was talking about the wind, and I'm not sure if you caught this earlier, but what she was talking about, drawing circles on the sand, and then where she lives, the wind blows it really quickly, so it erases it. And I was telling her that what I like to do at the beach is to write something on the sand and then see how the waves come in and release, goes back. The waves recede. Is that the word? And then what I wrote on the sand is gone, right? And it's like, ooh, where did it go? I remember being a little girl and be like, where did it go? You took it. Bring it back. And so with the thought of releasing and letting go, we're going to go to the beach. So both feet on the ground, everybody, get comfortable. Focus on your normal breathing, nice and slow. And we're going to go ahead and do an unguided meditation. And we are going to the beach. Let's go to the beach. Ooh, we are in a coral reef. Music for this meditation is brought to you by Brain FM. You can find a free trial in the fortune cookie. Music for your brain. So just go ahead and put both feet on the ground. Nice and relaxed. Lois, I hope Tokyo has calmed down by now. And as you know, we're going to activate that vagus nerve that's right here between your spine and your diaphragm. And the sole purpose of that nerve is to stabilize your blood pressure and bring you back to stillness. And the way that you do that is to actively tap on that nerve and kind of like wake him up, or wake it up. And the way that you do that is by using your diaphragm. So you need to do specific breath work to do this. If you're laying down, that's even better. But if not, you can do this sitting down like I'm going to do it now. So just follow my lead. Eyes closed. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. And with me, take a deep breath in. Nice and slow through your nose. Deep, deep breath in all the way till you fill your lungs. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it go through your mouth. Nice and slow. All the way till you have no air. All the way, all the way, all the way. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in again. Deep, 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 deep breath in all the way. Fill your lungs. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let it go through your mouth. And as you let it go, I want you to envision that we are sitting at the shoreline in the middle of the night, all of us in a line, one right next to the other, all sitting under that huge, bright full moon. And the waves come and the waves go. And you just watch it all happen, nice and slow. And with the tip of your finger, you trace a word on the sand. Something you've been called that may have offended you. Something that still ticks you off. Write it on the sand and watch as the waves just brush it off. And take another one. Something that makes you uncomfortable. Something that makes you cringe. Write it on the sand and watch as the wave washes in and erases all of it. And over as you do this, once the waves recede, it is just you and the moon. Shedding light on all that you are. Illuminating the path to all that you can be. And with the idea of the moon in Taurus, and with the idea of grounding our dreams and bringing them to life, you trace on the sand the word of the one thing you want the most right now. What are you currently working on so hard to manifest? Write it in the sand. Except this time, it's not an intention of release. It's an intention of elevating this intention. With the hope that the divine will align for you and that your efforts will make a difference to bring it to life. And watch as the wave just comes and goes. With me, take a deep breath in. Deep, deep, deep through your nose. Fill your lungs. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it go. Nice and slow through your mouth. All the way till you have no air. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in again. deep breath in, deep, deep, deep. Fill your lungs all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go. Through your mouth, nice and slow. Bring your awareness to your feet. Move your ankles or wiggle your toes. Bring your awareness to your eyes and open them. And come back to me. And wake up if you fell asleep, unless you're Lois. Lois was in her PJs hanging around with Tokyo. Hello, Peter. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. How was your day? Thank you, Ron. I'm going to go ahead and finish this painting and with an actual thing that I was thinking about that I used to do when I was in school. So I want to show you all what I used to do, but I have a message here. Perfect timing to come back for meditation. Yes. Also, when you said come back to me, there was a massive clap of thunder here. Ooh. Talk about grounding that energy, right? If there's thunder, then that means there's lightning somewhere. So that's cool, Rowena. Thank you for sharing. You can come up and share how that was. I want to thank Melissa again for the inspiration. As you all know, I never know what these meditations are going to be. But today when Melissa said that, and I remembered what I used to do when I was little, and the last time I was at the beach with Elijah, I remember doing it as well. Thank you, Ron. So that's how I knew I wanted to share it with you. But this is it. So I'm not going to do it now because it's still wet. But when I was in school, and almost all of my journals have this, I would take a pencil and draw lots of 8s, lots and lots and lots of 8s. And then I would color inside of every space a different color. So that's what I'm going to do after we're done here. And I'll post a picture on my Instagram. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming. Yes, we are past the hour, but it was still a lovely conversation. Thank you so much. It's like a party down there. You're all so sweet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we will be back for episode 18 next Moon Day. And by then, a lot of this, eclipse energy will have kind of receded, but not really. And let me explain why really quickly. This eclipse happening tomorrow opens up a 6-month window, which means all of the transformation that you may read about, hear about, or even hear from me, we're going to talk about it continuously. Because it's not just like, oh, tomorrow and I'm transformed and I'm a new person. No, we're all a work in progress, right? So eclipses tend to be 6 months apart. This eclipse tomorrow is closing a new moon eclipse that happened in Taurus back in April. And back then I was doing this conversation in private with my community on Zoom before I was invited to share it here on Fireside with you all. So here we are, and I'm so excited. So we'll be back next Moon Day, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.